This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Matt.
We are back. It is episode 6 of season 4, the summer bummer. And Joe, I gotta say right now, my streak of enjoying all of the post-Volchek storyline episodes of the OC continue.
Great.
This was just a dumb, goofy episode of the OC. And you kind of knew it was going to be a dumb, goofy episode when it literally starts with Ryan imagining Taylor like white snaking on the bar.
Yep.
And you're just like, okay, so this is the tone. I love it.
This is where we are.
And then, I mean, he wakes up or he comes out of his fantasy and it's this insane like fisheye lens shot of Sandy Cohen shoving a bagel up to his face and being like, Ryan, I smeared it for you. And you're just like, what is happening?
You know, I kind of wish Daddy Cohen would also smear a bagel for me, you know?
Ryan is trying to decide if he's in love with Taylor. That's one of the storylines. The other storyline is Summer dealing with being expelled from the school. I guess, again, there's not many episodes left, and this seems like there's nothing that can be reversed about this. Summer has been kicked out of Brown, is basically...
But only for this semester.
Which is weird. Like, like if it's only for the semester and it's fall semester, why does she have to pack up everything if she's going to just have to bring it all back a couple months later for spring? Like, you don't change roommates and rooms every semester. You change it with the school year.
Yes, but, you know, in a
also,
housing
we know
crisis...
But again, Joe, also, next week's episode is Christmas, so the semester is almost over.
Very fair, very fair.
Why is this not just a suspension? Just be like, hey, you're suspended for the rest of the semester.
I don't know why
home,
it makes sense
come back.
to me. Like, I don't know why this makes sense to me. Let's put it on. Like, I'm going to be honest with you in terms of, like, I used to work at a university housing office, right? Not directly with placing students, but I did used to work there. And so to me, it's like, yeah, that kind of makes sense because you also like instead like you don't want them there if they're suspended. Like the intention is for them to like go away, right?
Oh no, I'm fine with them kicking her back to California. I just feel like the fact that she had to box up like her entire dorm room to just bring it back in 3 weeks, like across the entire country, seems like overkill.
Oh,
to
well,
me.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
like, do you know how expensive it is to move things from Maine to California just to turn around and do it again 3 weeks later? Like that's
Rhode Island.
Still, that okay. I meant to say New England because I couldn't remember what state they were in, and then I just said Maine.
Hey, I mean, Maine never gets any love, so
no,
there we go.
There's certainly not a famous writer that exclusively puts all of his stories there. But yeah, as this is happening, Che just proves to be the absolute worst. And I really, truly thought like, oh, okay, she's going to get him expelled somehow. Like, this is so dumb, though. He's talking about the cause. Oh, this was all for the cause. But it's a dumb bummer plot. But it does lead to some fun later on in this episode. But at the start, I was just very annoyed at Che still being here. I was really hoping that the Che stuff was over. I still hope that the Che stuff is over at the end of this episode. So spoiler alert, I already watched next week's episode because I was going to ask if this was a season wrap on or series wrap on Che, but
it sure isn't.
It sure is not. We get a different. I mean, technically, this could still be a series wrap on Che, but Chester shows up for at least one more episode.
Oh, God, fuck.
I wrote down this note that just said, "Jesus, how good was that single kiss from Taylor?" That Ryan is just having nonstop fantasies about her.
Well, I mean, you know, Ryan hasn't been getting any. Okay, like, and I'm not saying that just because like the supposed love of his life has died in a tragic accident, and he's been consumed with a plot to gather revenge against the man responsible for her death.
Yeah,
that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let's just very quickly cover the least interesting storyline here, which is just anything based around the Coopers right now. I feel like is just a nonstop like fun suck, where it's just filled with ickiness and weirdness. So, like in this particular episode, we start with Caitlin still trying to hit on the like 25-year-old tennis instructor, and him just being like, "Go." Literally make friends your own age. This is weird. You can't even drive a car yet. Like, this is weird. Go away.
But also,
we
like,
end the episode finding out that like Kirsten and Julie accidentally started a male prostitution ring.
Yeah. Yeah, Julie the madam is it's the next best part of this.
Madam Julie, yeah.
Yes,
Madam
Julie.
Cooper, I think it would actually be, right? Madam Cooper and Madam Cohen. And then like, I don't know, I feel like they really want me to care way more about Caitlin's popularity in high school, and I honestly could not care less. Anytime that we're back in the high school now, I'm like, whatever, move on. I don't need this character.
Yeah. Can I say something about Caitlin though? Like, what I do love about them bringing Caitlin on and like we're getting more, you know, Caitlin love, maybe not love, but you know, we're getting more Caitlin in the show, is that they are really trying to walk this line between like mean girl bratty like bitch, and then also like still has like a heart of gold, right? Like the only reason she wants to do this party is so that way like to kind of come to the rescue of these other girls who are being excluded by the other bitch.
And to teach that girl to be nicer.
Exactly. And they set this up in last season where, you know, she is being snarky, but at the same time, like, you know, the reason why she left is, you know, it's really interesting how they're walking this line. And that's what also makes, for me, like, even though it is like, it's so blatantly like brought in to replace Melissa the same way that like Taylor has been brought in to replace Marissa, I do really enjoy watching her.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. This girl, for the record, is throwing a pimps and hoes party. I had to write that down, that the popular girls party, they are literally like, she's throwing a pimps and hoes party. I'm like, what a mid-2000s party idea.
I know. I was like, not a pimps and hoes party.
The worst kind of party. Another note that I wrote down, just God the Bullet is annoying. Here he is just inviting himself to Sandy and Kirsten's marriage renewal celebration. Like, so strange, so bizarre. It's also just bizarre that it's just the two of them and Julie.
Yeah, right.
like I love when Caitlin's just like, you're not planning to have a three-way with them, right? Like, why is it just the three of you there for a marriage renewal? That's weird.
Yeah.
This episode I forgot until we go on the date, right? When we see Ryan and Taylor attempt a date, I I forgot that she's female Seth. Like, I totally forgot that that was like her main character trait in the first half of season 3, and like why she likes Seth until she's like forcing him to watch anime at night. And then I do have to say I like Roger. I like how strange Roger is. And then it's great when you find out, like, I actually wrote, man, there's a lot of gay characters in this episode. But I do love that you find out that Roger's gay, that Taylor knows that he is, that she's just kind of been paying him to make Ryan jealous. Just so bizarre. It's so, but like I said, I love that like, for 3 seasons, an episode like this would have like 4 overdoses and like a guy showing up with a gun and like outrageous violence and the police show up and like a million other things. And like this one was just like this was the stress level of a 90s teen flick where they have a big party, right? Like this was this was Can't Hardly Wait. Like, it's like, oh, the cops might bust up the party. That's as bad as things are going to get for anybody.
But it kind of gives you like early season 1, right?
A little bit. Like, pre-Tijuana season 1.
Pre-Oliver. I was going to say pre-Oliver because I feel like Tijuana was fine because, I mean, like, yeah, like in the scale of trauma, right? Like overdose in Mexico. Is
the overdose followed by being helicoptered from Tijuana to Newport.
Like, Mexico, and then like, versus like, mentally ill boy with a gun, rich boy with a gun.
Yeah, that's Oliver's definitely where this entire series takes a turn that it honestly took 2.5 seasons to dig itself out of. Like,
they jumped the shark right in like season 1.
Well, I mean, it's hard to say because season 1, as we've said, is 5 seasons. But yeah, I guess it did technically jump the shark in season 1. I don't think I have much else to say about Taylor right now. I guess the only thing we have left to talk about is what happens in the overall Summer, Che, Seth situation. So Seth is flying to Brown to surprise Summer. Summer gets expelled from school and decides to surprise Cohen by showing up at his house. Classic double surprise mix-up situation. And this is when Seth is like, I'm going to get revenge on Che, and finds a burnt DVD written to him that with the name Seth on the DVD, and he pops it into the computer, and it's like a 30-second message from Che, like, I'm going to go into hiding until you calm down type situation. And then he just shows up at Summer's house. And I did write down, it is very possible that I looked away and missed this. When did he get handcuffed to Summer? Like, he was at the front door, and then I feel like the next time I saw them, he was already handcuffed to her in the bedroom when Taylor and Roger show up. And I have, like, do you remember that? Was there a scene where we see them getting handcuffed?
No. I honestly, I was like, I had the same thought. I was like, what?
Yeah, like.
So, I mean, like, it's that's the thing, right? Is that, like, anytime that he's on screen and we're at that part where, we've just kind of accepted that Marissa is dead and we're moving on.
Yeah, we're just
anything
moved
can
on.
happen. I'm like, I don't know when that happened, but that kind of tracks for what's going on right now.
Now, is there... You being the person most tapped into pop culture, I feel like there may have been a dig at Laguna Beach that I saw.
Oh, the skanks thing.
Well, there was a show called The Real Stories of the Valley, which I'm pretty sure was how Laguna Beach was marketed, right? Like, it was marketed as The Real OC when it was coming out.
Yeah, it was Sherman Oaks, The Real Valley, I think is what they called it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's like, man, they were really upset that Laguna Beach took that stab at them. The only other line that I have written down that I want to mention is because Seth has flown to Rhode Island, Ryan doesn't know who to go to for his romantic troubles, and Kirsten tries to help out, and it's fine. But then Sandy steps up. And he's like, I don't mind being a fill-in, Seth. And he like gives him advice, and then he goes, all right, well, I'll be in my room reading comics and listening to indie rock. And Ryan's just like, that's a really good Seth. Like,
Yeah.
That gave me a good old smile. And then the episode ends with, as Barb has warned me, the star of season 4, Pancakes, just kind of hopping around. And I'm like, God damn, that is a cute rabbit.
Yeah. I mean, in lieu of, in lieu of a Captain Oates Princess Sparkle, we now have Pancakes.
We do. It's great. Everybody loves pancakes, both the rabbit and the food.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
This podcast is supported by FX's English Teacher, a new comedy from executive producers of What We Do in the Shadows and Baskets. English Teacher follows Evan, a teacher in Austin, Texas, who learns if it's really possible to be your full self at your job while often finding himself at the intersection of the personal, professional, and political aspects of working at a high school. FX's English Teacher is now streaming on Hulu. All new Mondays on FX.
Are you troubled by trying to find a great movie podcast to listen to?
Do you experience a love for monster movies from the classic Universal era to the modern creature features?
Have you or your family ever watched episodes of Elvira, Monster Vision, or Svengoolie?
If the answer is yes, then don't wait another minute. Open up your podcatcher and search for the professionals. The Monster Rally Podcast.
Our hilarious and asinine hosts have an ever-growing library of episodes for you to listen to 24 hours a day to serve all your monster movie needs.
We'll talk about it.
Let's talk about the music in this episode of the OC. Not the best episode of music, but we have the song Hot Girls in Good Moods by Butch Walker plays basically every time Ryan's having a vision of Taylor. Daisy Chains by the youth group plays when Summer has to pack up everything at college. And then we have 2 songs that play during the party that I clocked. Stay Put by Blood Arms and Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is by Jet. I went with the Butch Walker song. Usually if a song shows up more than once, I just feel like, all right, obviously this is the song of the episode. But how about you, Joe? Are you going with Butch Walker as well? Or are you going with a deeper cut? Or is this yet another Phantom Planet California is the song of the episode week?
What was this? What was the song that was the one that played during the fantasy? Is that the Butch Walker?
Yeah, that's the Butch Walker one.
Then I'm going with the Butch Walker because the fantasy song where I was just like, this reminds me of one of the things that I love about the OC, which is like sometimes they're not afraid to be really silly and campy.
Yeah, but I also feel like, man, you guys have literally talked about Julie Cooper's like 80s hair metal past. I think she legitimately went on tour like following Whitesnake, I feel like was the plot point. And we've heard Here I Go Again a couple times. Like, I feel like that showed up in an episode. How is this not being said to Here I Go?
Right?
Yeah, like, it's like now we have, I love Butch Walker, but Butch Walker is not a big name artist. Like, you could have easily had Here I Go Again by Whitesnake during these scenes.
But what was cool about it, though, right? What was cool is the fact that you have, like, it sounded like a Jet song. And Jet's in this episode. So I was like,
it's also like, why didn't you just get Jet's Are You Gonna Be My Girl at that point? You got Put Your Money Where Your Mouth Is, a song I've never heard by a band that I have 2 albums by. Like, doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, Joe, pop culture, when OC blew up, it was a huge pop culture moment. What is something that you've been watching in pop culture, reading in pop culture, listening to in pop culture, etc., that you want to give a quick shout out to?
So I'm actually reading a book right now.
Ooh.
I was like, this is off brand for me. I'm going to read a book. I'm reading the new novel by Casey McQuiston called The Pairing. Casey McQuiston wrote Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Royal Blue. Yeah, boy, did you love that.
Oh, I know. And like, I'm reading this one, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not in love with it yet, but has the potential. So the premise is that it's 4 years ago, there was the like this couple that were about to embark on. They've been like lifelong friends, and they've been dating for 2 years, and they're about to embark on like a 3-week long European food tour. When they land in London from America, they have a fight, and Kit abandons Theo at Heathrow, and Theo immediately goes back to America. So they end up getting a voucher for their food tour that expires in 4 years. So they decide the month before it officially expires. Well, Theo decides, because it's narrated from their perspective, the month before it expires, they're going to go eat, pray, love, and like reclaim the trip. And when they got on the bus, Kit is there. They had the same idea, and hilarity is starting to ensue where I'm at. So I'm really excited for it. I forget how much I miss Casey McQuiston's writing, because there's just like lines that like I'm not in college, so I don't carry a highlighter when I read anymore. But there are lines where I want to just like circle it like there was. It's just like really, really fun and beautiful prose that gives you the perspective of the characters. I'm really excited. Also, I think between when Red, White, and Royal Blue came out and now, Casey McQuiston is now identifying as non-binary with they, them pronouns. And I'm experiencing some frustration reading the novel because it's told from Theo's point of view. Theo is not referring to themselves in like in the third person. So I don't know what pronouns they use, but it's kind of assumed that they might be some sort of like non-binary, she, they, non-binary, like AFAB type person, because it's really interesting. Like Theo gets on the bus. I'm trying not to say she because I don't know for sure. Like they're trying to they're getting on the bus, and then the bus driver in this like Italian accent's like, Theodora, and like Theo's like Theo. And then there's now reached a part where Theo's commenting on the fact that Kit and them look the same. Like they now have similar haircuts and they're wearing similar clothes.
I mean, this is going to sound really dumb when I say it out loud, but it could also be not accidental that like Theo, Theo, is just one letter off of they, them.
Hey, you're more in the YA world than I am, so.
I mean, it could just be like I'm not going to say in this book, but if you read between the lines and look at the name and this, and that, and the other
my
thing,
journey through everything.
Yeah, then it all makes sense and connects type thing. I, however, watched a documentary on Peacock. Yeah, some of us still use Peacock. Called TikTok Star Murders, which is a terrible name. Like there has to be a better way to name that documentary. And it's interesting because I'm watching it, and similarly to like when the Ashley Madison documentary came up and they talked about the one guy going viral who got caught in the whole Ashley Madison thing, and I like had the vaguest recollection of seeing the video that he went viral for, where it was like him and his wife and his kids like lip singing to the Frozen soundtrack in the car. Like it was like, oh, I do remember like people sharing this video at one point.
Yeah.
I like vaguely remember this guy that the documentary is about. And it's basically just about a TikTok star and his wife who is also a TikTok star, and how so many of their TikToks were about how like drama free and in love they were, and then you find out, and then he murders her. Yes. And you find out that their life wasn't drama free whatsoever, and it's kind of one of those like don't trust the world that people put on the internet because it's not the actual world. And it does, like when you walk away you're like, oh, this guy's a sociopath, and in the truest like a sociopath and a narcissist, because he confesses to the murder, but he tries to claim that it's a heat of passion murder and not like a pre-planned thing, even though that there's a ton of evidence of it being passion
as opposed to premeditated.
And like all the evidence says that it was premeditated in every way, shape, or form. But like the stuff that like just makes you get so angry while watching it is like when he has a fan call him in prison to record their voice message because he wants to get a message out to his followers where he's basically just like, hey man, I'm so sorry I'm not gonna be able to bring in those videos that you like no remorse for like the murder of his wife, just like trying to make sure that his like followers are like still supporting him because he may or may not get out one day and go back to making videos. And it's just like, oh my God, the levels of narcissism and also just like unhinged sociopathic tendencies in that is just fucking insane.
Okay, I'm gonna say this in as loving a tone as I can, given that you and I are kind of adjacent to this world. But like, aren't our content creators, especially content creators on that level, are they all just kind of a little socio? Like, you know, it's a little sprinkled in there, and maybe like someone knocked over the bottle and gave him a little bit more. Like, I
mean, it's so there's a thing that I remember hearing on a podcast years ago that was like essentially like any person who's ever been the president when given a test has shown signs of being slightly sociopathic, because to think that you are the only person who's qualified for the job of running the entire country requires a dash of that. Like,
sure,
you need to have ego. It's like no one who's a meek, mild person is gonna be like, gee whiz, I could be president. Like, that's just like not gonna happen.
The fire in the belly.
Yeah. And I think that's the same with content creation, putting yourself out there. Like, you need to have some element of being able to go out there. But I do think that it's interesting. It's an argument that I have with friends and family and even my girlfriend sometimes of like, I still see myself as introverted, while the rest of the world probably sees me as extroverted. But I think that anyone else who does content creation gets that weird balance of like, I'm able to turn it on. I'm able to do all the like you've seen it at like Comic-Con. I'm able to, but you also see like when that show floor closes, I don't want to go to a party. I don't want to do networking. Like, I want to maybe have a quick dinner with the people that I know personally.
Yeah.
And then go to fuck to bed. Like, I don't want to partake in what I think is like, I think Jonathan from Geekscape is a true extrovert where it's like, he'll be at the booth all day. He'll talk to everybody. And then he wants to go to every party and continue networking and like shaking hands. And it's like, he's got spoons for days.
Yeah.
Where, like,
he's fucking
like
IKEA with all those spoons, you know, like.
But like, I have a reserve that does run out at every convention every day that has to be replenished overnight. So I don't know. Maybe I'm not extrovert or introvert. I'm just a fucking human. I'm just verted. Is what it comes down to. Joe, this was a great episode of the OC as far as I'm concerned, and I'm so glad that every episode from here moves the plot forward in big ways, that there's no wasting time on fantasy and alternate universes and stuff like that. And it's the magic of Christmas coming up next week, so let's see how that goes for me.
Yeah, let's see.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.